Science!
My calculations are correct. You're going to see some serious...
All right, Ray. I teased it a little bit when we were talking about George Kittle. I know you want to talk about a certain rookie tight end in an offense that maybe took some people by surprise from a structural perspective. Let it rip here on the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, this might be one of those situations where it is just sneaky goodness for this Cleveland Browns offense. The Browns in week 1, 7th in neutral pass rate, which is really good, right? The running game of Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford, all the talk was about Jerome Ford being the starter. He's going to be the guy, and then Dylan Sampson will work in. Well, Dylan Sampson was the guy. He didn't do much with his carries, 12 carries for 29 yards, but 8 receptions, 64 yards for Dylan Sampson in week 1. He forced 7 missed tackles. That was tied with Nick Chubb for the most forced missed tackles by a running back in week 1. And he also provided 26 yards over expected. It wasn't just Dylan Sampson, though. Harold Fannin Jr. tied the tight end rookie reception mark opening day with 7 receptions, 65 yards, and was a major part of this Cleveland Browns offense. I said this on X. This feels like this wide receiver slash tight end, Harold Fannin, feels like Joe Flacco's version of Dennis Pitta. And Dennis Pitta was just peppered with targets with Joe Flacco there. And he kind of plays like Pitta. He's not an inline guy. That's still David Njoku's role. But for week 1, for an offense that we didn't have a lot of expectations for, to see these two rookies step up and assume such a large share of this offense, you have to be encouraged. Now, that comes with fellow rookie running back Quinshon Judkins is in the building, Matt Harmon. He's supposed to be on the practice field tomorrow in preparation for week 2. But I don't think that impacts Dylan Sampson's role as the pass-catching running back, which has never been sort of in Quinshon Judkins' profile. So for me, coming out of week 1 for a team where they were a lot more competitive than I thought they would be. They looked better. This was not the worst team on the slate this weekend, not even close to the worst offensive team we saw in football. Now it's the Bengals defense, right? It was the Cincinnati defense, but this was a competitive game. My big takeaway from this situation is there are 2 rookies and maybe even a third with the inclusion of Quinshon Judkins that can be very fruitful for us in fantasy football. And I do expect once Judkins is on the field and acclimated and in condition, Jerome Ford was so bad, Matt. Every touch was just BAD bad. Fannin, Sampson, big-time stock up after week 1.
This team made Jerome Ford give them money to stay on the roster this past year. People forget about that. It's they were completely ready to move on from Jerome Ford, and they said, well, yeah, you give us some of your cash back, then we'll keep you around here. But otherwise, I think if Jerome Ford hadn't done that, and obviously Quinshon Judkins' legal situation hadn't popped up, I think they would have just run into this season with these 2 rookie backs as their guys. I think, obviously, barring what Judkins looks like when he gets into the building, when he starts practicing, that's still I just don't even know what to do with that situation. It's unprecedented, right? I don't think we've ever seen a rookie not practice with his team his entire offseason, not even sign a contract with the team, and then just suddenly come in here in week 2 and start playing. At least I can't remember that. If anyone else can remember a situation like that, feel free to hit me up. I certainly can't. So we'll see what happens there. But I think they would have been comfortable just rocking with these 2 guys going into the season. But I like your point here about Dylan Sampson and his particular role, because your first point there about the neutral pass rate is the one that's interesting to me, because I thought maybe this team would get back to a little bit more like ground and pound football with 12 personnel, which they did do the 12 personnel, but they trust Joe Flacco to drop back, get under center, or get under center and rip this thing. So I think as long as Flacco's under center, they're gonna be a high volume passing game, which for a guy like Sampson, who's catching passes, that's pretty good news from a fantasy perspective. Let me put you on the spot here with this, with the running back stuff in particular. How would you handicap it in terms of which running back between these 2 guys? How close is it to you as to who scores more points? Just let's say if Judkins gets on the field and starts playing this week or next.
Matt, I hear you, man, but at least at this position, it is a position where we've seen the NFL literally get guys off of the couch and plug them on an NFL field to take carries. It's the easiest position to translate to. You see ball, get ball, run ball. I'm not really worried. They gave him a fully guaranteed deal. They drafted him high. Jerome Ford, if you didn't, he was so bad. I would just trust. Let's see what Judkins can do. If Judkins and Sampson are the two primary ball carriers projecting this forward, Sampson's role is Sampson's role. I think that was not a coincidence that he was used in the quick game. That was not a coincidence that he was used in the short area receiving game. Like those are things that will translate and carry over. Jerome Ford didn't get any of that. Jerome Ford didn't do that. And that is the area where if Judkins was behind in some area, it's pass protection on third down, it's route concepts out of the backfield, it's when to release, when to stay. That's where I don't think he's going to really impact Dylan Sampson. But as far as 22 power, give him the ball up the A-gap, that's something that Quinshon Judkins has been doing since he was 5 years old. So if the split between those two, I fully expect Sampson to keep and maintain that pass catching role out of the backfield, which we all know a target is worth more than a rush attempt, and for the combination of Jerome Ford and Quinshon Judkins to be the primary up the gut between the 20s ball carrier.
So on Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end, like, what do you what's the sustainability for a guy like this? Like, can he be I mean, you're smiling over there. Like, what's the sustainability for a guy like him? Because very talented. If people don't know this, he was by far and away not just like the most productive tight end in college football last year. He was the most productive pass catcher in college football last year. Just absurd, bonkers stuff at Bowling Green. Of course, obviously, it's not like he was at Ohio State or something like that, but still incredibly productive. We know that the prospect dorks love that, Ray. So, like, is this a guy that can be a fantasy starting tight end, even if he is the, quote, nominal tight end 2 on his own team?
Well, I think you know this, especially with all your work with pass catchers. Like week one sample sizes are so fluky, right? So you don't want to overreact to the production or to the volume or to the utilization. But we actually have some information about what the team wanted to do. And in a game in which Cleveland was right there the entire time, should have won this ball game, what the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski did was say, we are going to use Harold Fannin in the slot. That's where he played, 29% of his snaps came from this. He was their slot receiver. It was Harold Fannin. It was Cedric Tillman. I think Njoku, he still had 8 targets in this one. I know the production wasn't there, but it wasn't like Njoku went away. Njoku still had 8 targets to Harold Fannin's 9. But sustainability-wise, I think for a quarterback who's going to be able to throw the ball at the 7th highest top 10 neutral pass rate, and he's not mobile, Matt. It's either get the ball to Tillman or Judy, and if they're not there, we're going underneath. I think this is, if I had to go 50, what side of the coin, sustainable, not sustainable, the way that Fannin is used, I think this is something that can sustain. Is it going to be 7 for 65 every week? Probably not. But I don't think this was an accident how he was used in week 1.
Yeah, I think this is what they wanted. This is why they drafted him, not only just to like potentially take David Njoku's job down the road, but they wanted to be more of a 12 personnel team. And I think they got that in Harold Fannin. And I thought he looked good out there. I thought the usage was really encouraging for him. He was productive, as you mentioned. So yeah, I definitely think he is somebody that needs to be rostered and potentially can help you get through the George Kittle injury if you've got that, or you drafted Mark Andrews and you're not happy about it. TJ Hawkinson not happy about it after 1 week. So yeah, that's why that tier was such an avoid, like all draft season for me, because like I'd just rather try to find one of these guys. But we'll get into my first data point here. And I talked about the Bears on the Monday Night Football recap, the solo recap on yesterday's show, but I want to kind of check in with you on what you saw out of Caleb Williams on Monday night. A few stats here to kind of paint the picture of how he played. 14.3% check down rate, was 3rd among all quarterbacks according to Fantasy Points data in week 1. 35 attempts, 21 completions, just 1 attempt and 1 completion came on passes 10 plus yards over the middle of the field. I put the passing chart out on Twitter. It felt that way in real time, Ray, that like Caleb Williams is just not taking shots over the middle of the field, 10 plus yards, like not attacking that area, getting the ball out really quick to the checkdowns. Ben Johnson, you could tell he's drilled it into his head, like get to completions. Also, because Ben says it every time he's in front of a mic, like I want him getting to completions. And so I actually like he's good to get to the checkdowns. It's a defense, by the way, that they specialize in making those exact throws that I just talked about, 10 plus yards over the middle of the field. They close those things up really well. There were a lot of plays, like I watched it back on film this morning. There's a lot of plays where they do the sim pressure as a linebacker drops into coverage right into a window where Caleb Williams, if he's just a beat earlier, could have ripped it, but instead he goes to the check down. Ultimately, again, like the graph we're showing right now on YouTube really shows it well. Like the scripted plays, EPA scripted plays, really good. EPA on the non-scripted plays, not very good. So it's just one game, Ray. And I keep saying that. It's just one game. It's the first game in this new offense. It's against a really good defense. But how are we feeling about Caleb Williams after 1 week?
Let me take it from, I think there's two different things here. Caleb Williams, the fantasy score, because he ran around a whole bunch. He ran in a touchdown. Like
that was
he
good.
Still produced. He still produced from a fantasy perspective, but Caleb Williams, the thrower and the distributor of the football. Matt, I don't know if you know this, but I am a big time USC Trojans fan. Okay. So I watch a lot of USC in the fall. I'm a Caleb Williams truther. A leopard doesn't change his spots, man. This is Caleb Williams. How do you coach this out of him? He's running around crazy as hell behind the line. I mean, it's any pressure. He's bailing from the pocket. It was helter skelter out there. It was chaotic. I would be very frustrated if I were the offensive coordinator. There were so many times he had time to step up in the pocket. He was late to reads. It looked like things were moving so fast. And he was trying so hard to execute. I mean, simple things looked hard. There was a play, it was third down. Rome Odunze he's not going to pick up the first, but it's just a simple flare route. He dirts it. I mean, it's almost back. It's just everything felt so difficult for Caleb Williams in week 1. And there are no excuses. He's got an allotment of weapons. You've got this great offensive mind. It looked great the first drive, the first half. But after that, once the defensive coordinator said, hey, what'd you say on the last show? Odunze had told you that Brian Flores causes the most confusion that he's seen, from his rookie year. This was not encouraging for a player that we have a lot of high expectation and hope for. Again, his fantasy production was fine. I believe he was top 12 quarterback on the week. But you asked about, in the last segment, how is that sustainable for Cleveland? If Caleb can't play within structure of an offense, which was his biggest criticism coming out, the reason why he set an NFL record for sacks taken, this is a big problem, and Ben Johnson did not look happy on Monday night.
No, I think it's going to be a minute until Ben Johnson's like perfectly happy with everything. I think there's still this misunderstanding of what Ben Johnson's offense is. Like it's going to come in here and give Caleb Williams like a bunch of easy button completions, like in the same way that, I don't know, like Sean McVay does in Los Angeles, where they just have so many like flat routes and like the flat controller tight ends that open up stuff over the middle. It's not quite like that. It's all based on like execution and guys like being where they want to be, which is why it took a minute for the Detroit Lions offense to get there. That's why I don't want to give any final write it in pen take on this Bears offense or Caleb Williams or any of these guys in it until like maybe November. That's annoying for fantasy, but that's why I love Rome Odunze, but he was like my wide receiver 30 or something. Like you got to expect some up and down. It's good that he led the team in routes and targets. Like I feel confident that he's got the things down that he needs to get. But like for Caleb to, as you say, change his stripes, I think that is going to take some time. It's just going to be a minute if it happens at all. And yeah, I definitely come away from this past game. I think it's just a mixed bag. Like ultimately, is that like too weak of a take? To me, I just think this was a mixed bag performance. Like some good. I like the check down stuff. I know people are going to get on him about it. And I definitely think he was way too quick to get the ball out into the flat. But at the same time, that's exactly what he did last year.
Yeah, it's not too weak of a take. It's week 1, and I do think it's our job to react to what we saw. Right? We spent all damn summer just hypotheticals about pads and t-shirts and underwear Olympics. We got real football. This is real data. Whether it's sticky, whether it holds all the way to week 17, probably not. Right? But week 1, like to start off as high as they looked that opening drive, 6 for 6. First time they had started 6 for 6, I think, since 2018 with an opening drive touchdown since 2018. You were here, and to end where we ended, like you would be crazy not to be like, what the hell happened? And how do we avoid that happening in the future?
I would be very disappointed if I was a Chicago Bears fan, just with the way it felt and then the way it went after everything that happened this summer. Because you know how it is, like when the excitement is there, it's building. Oh my God, the scripted drives are, it's looking so good, and then so yeah, ultimately
Matt, it was like Game of Thrones, Matt. It was like seasons 1 through 5, I'm locked in, baby. Seasons 1 to 6, I'm a little. That's like the third quarter. Season 7, you're like, what the hell is this, man? What have we done with the thing that we love?
Yeah, season 6, that third quarter, that's when I said on the show yesterday, I messaged Colin, like, why do I feel like the Bears are about to have a heartbreaking home loss to a quarterback who has fewer than 100 passing yards right now? And that's exactly what happened. Same with season 6, 7-ish of Game of Thrones before the disaster that was season 8. I was like, I don't know if this is coming together in the way that I thought it was going to come together. But that's a podcast for a different day, that is for sure.